Alright, folks. I'm gonna razzle dazzle you guys for a few minutes here.
Bring it on, brother. Bring it on.
Let me make sure I could navigate back and forth on this.
You need some help? I can.
Yeah, can you do the arrows?
Sure, I can
Yeah.
do the arrow.
So I'm going to talk to you guys about my second favorite category of nutrition outside of tonic herbs, and that is microalgae. So this is kind of an overview of how this is going to go. The overview of the different edible algae that are out there, the benefits, where to source them, what whales and dolphins teach us about nutrition, and also the big picture around the healthy fats and supporting your mitochondria. Okay, so how many of you here consume at least one of these algae products on a regular basis?
Well, they
There's,
have it into the diet occasionally, but
Spirulina Chlorella, Astaxanthin, marine phytoplankton,
yeah.
AFA, Bluegreen Algae, anybody?
Yes. I can
Yes,
say
one.
that I can say that I've consumed these things.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the red algae.
You have the Astaxanthin, okay.
Yeah.
I do Spirulina Chlorella, not every day, but my cats get it every day.
Okay, so that's good. So you're treating your cats better than you are treating yourself in that regard. Okay.
They
That's
say
fair.
they say that as it should be.
Definitely.
Alright, so
Okay. So these are the 5 main edible ones. We're going to talk about these. We'll go next. Okay. So basically, I was introduced to Bluegreen algae from Klamath Lake in Oregon back in '94. But I was kind of too young to really get into it. I tried it for about a year or so. It was pretty good. I noticed how I needed less sleep back then, which was an important thing for me. And Bluegreen algae from Klamath Lake, it's actually a bacteria because it doesn't have, it's not classified as part of the algae seaweed kingdom. You have the 5 kingdoms of biology. You have bacteria, you have protista, which is like seaweed algae. Then you have fungus, you have animal, and you have plant, right? So this is actually part of the bacteria kingdom. And so this one here is my favorite one out of 5. And this is kind of how it looks under a microscope right there. And scientifically it's called the cyanobacteria. All right. So how many of you are familiar with Crater Lake in Oregon? Okay, so there was a mountain there that exploded about 8,000 years ago called Mount Mazama, and it basically created the deepest lake in the world. Crater Lake is about 1,900 feet deep.
wow.
So all the sediments from that volcano erupting basically went all over the place, and much of it landed inside of Klamath Lake, and it created a very interesting kind of elemental mineral deposit in Klamath Lake that nourished the lake to have this very unique form of blue-green algae. And around 1980, NASA sent somebody over there to investigate the potential for eating this algae to be used by astronauts in outer space. And it turned out that this is actually now one of the most nutrient-dense wild foods in the world that we can consume. And it's the only one that's actually wild. Well, actually, the marine phytoplankton is wild. We don't consume it wild. So out of all the algae we consume, this is the only one that's harvested as a wild food. And wild food will always typically be more stronger and more fortified than human cultivated food because it has to survive on its own. And both spirulina and the Klamath Lake AFA blue-green algae contain a blue pigment called phycocyanin. Remember, we studied the pigments, right? We had that color, what was that, week 5? We studied the color pigments. So phycocyanin is the rarest of the food pigments. Basically, only 2 edible foods have it that I know about, and that is spirulina and Klamath Lake blue-green algae. And that pigment is very special because it nourishes the bone marrow and helps to release the migration of stem cells throughout the body. And these are the stem cells that form your immune system and also help repair injuries and help regenerate the brain and stuff like that. And there's actually a whole book called Stem Cell Nutrition by Dr. Summersall. And this is about the blue-green algae. So there's actually a number of books that have been written about it, and about what it does in terms of healing the body. And yeah, basically you have both of these algae have more protein than any animal product. They contain the healthy fats. Spirulina has the rare GLA omega-6 and stuff like that. And we can go to the next one. Yeah, so marine phytoplankton is the basis of the food chain in the ocean. So air-phase, fresh water. Okay, so we know that. Spirulina is like brackish water, and the marine phytoplankton is obviously a saltwater algae. And basically, most of the oxygen on this planet is produced by marine phytoplankton. So this is basically like the foundation of life on this planet. And like blue-green algae, this algae has existed for at least like 2 billion years. And this is probably the most complete food on the planet. So it doesn't have that blue pigment, but it has the composition of enzymes, minerals, fatty acids, sugars. It is basically like the most complete food. Like if someone who's severely malnourished can definitely benefit from marine phytoplankton. There's like 3 companies that make it. They make them in bioreactors, so they actually took a sample from the ocean, and instead of harvesting from the ocean, they just keep growing it in bioreactors. So because not all the marine phytoplanktons are edible by humans, so they found the strains that are, and they keep regrowing them. All right, we'll go to next.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When you say food, can you kind of like that mean can you eat it just like that?
Yeah, you drink it. You drink it.
Oh, you drink it.
You drink it. Yeah.
You get full. You get.
Actually, nourishing is super nourishing to your nervous system and your brain, so you feel satiated. So you basically end up eating like less calories through the day because you have the nutrients that will give your body the electric charge it needs to run. Yeah. So some of the health benefits of marine phytoplankton. It has the phospholipids, which are pretty important for the cell membranes, and it has, like I said, all the amino acids. So it bypasses. So these are both the blue-green algae and the marine phytoplankton. They bypass the Krebs cycle. So they basically these nutrients go right into your cells. So they absorb into your cell structure immediately, and they skip having to. So you don't get the food comas, for example. Yeah, you get direct energy from them, optimize ATP production and so forth. All right, so go next. So these are a couple of the companies that are pretty good for marine phytoplankton. That company right there is pretty good. They do tinctures and capsules, and for E3 Live is my favorite source for the blue-green algae. And they have like in the frozen section at grocery stores where you basically just take a spoon out, you defrost it, put it in like in your smoothie or in juice, or you could buy powder, or you could buy capsules. So yeah, and it's pretty cool to turn your drinks blue. I think that's just pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so for Spirulina and Chlorella, which I'm going to talk about next, I like Health Force, and both of these are pretty high quality. And Spirulina is pretty amazing for all kinds of reasons as well too. It has a bunch of carotenoids in it as well too. It has zeaxanthin in it, so it's really good for the eyes. And I'm gonna get into a little bit. So let's go with Chlorella. Okay, Chlorella. So who's here has tried Chlorella?
Chlorophyll.
Yeah, Chlorella. Okay, so Chlorella has the highest amount of chlorophyll of any food that you can possibly consume. So that is super oxygenating. It basically it's like fumigating also to your insides. It makes your insides smell better as well too. Fumigates all your digestive tract. It has a bunch of RNA in it too that's bioavailable. So you're getting your cells are getting restructured from the RNA. optimizes liver function. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, so removes toxins from the brain. Good for removing heavy metals, radioactive elements, mercury, etc. So Japan was the country that initially did the research on chlorella after World War II. They were looking for ways to detoxify their people after the nuclear war that happened on their land. And so chlorella was taking out cadmium, it was taking out all kinds of radioactive particles out of people. So Japan has the highest quality chlorella, I think. It's the more expensive kind. South Korea has a pretty good reputation for having clean chlorella. Yeah, I probably would not buy chlorella coming from China. Would do Japan or South Korea or the United States. And chlorella does not have the green pigment in it. The blue pigment doesn't have any of the phycocyanin, like spirulina and climate lake algae. But it has a bunch of other things that are super good for you, for the gut bacteria, for the immune system, and so forth. Okay, so the next algae I want to talk about is astaxanthin. And astaxanthin, basically it's a class of algae that are red. So it's not just one algae that's called astaxanthin, it could be a bunch of different kinds. But these algae, when they're stressed by the environment, they create this super powerful carotenoid that protects them from their environment, from the stress of the environment, from the sun, from other things. And this is pretty much the most powerful carotenoid you can put into your body as an antioxidant. You guys are familiar with carotenoids, right? In general, you guys want to name off some foods that have carotenoids in them?
Foods that have
Carotenoids, yeah.
carotenoids, carrots,
Mangoes,
mangoes,
Sweet potatoes.
sweet potatoes,
yeah,
turmeric,
yeah, turmeric,
right? The orange peppers, right?
Yeah.
So even egg yolks, right? The lutein, right, in the egg yolks that gives that yellow color. That's a carotenoid, right? So it's basically like that kind of, the spectrum of carotenoids goes from red to orange to yellow. And this is the most potent one. And they give us seafood and also flamingos, they're pinkish, reddish hues because they eat a bunch of it. So you can get the astaxanthin from these sources. Probably salmon eggs and krill probably have like the highest concentration because they're the smaller the life form, the higher concentration of astaxanthin it's going to have. And so we can go to the next one. But I would recommend this Hawaiian company called Hetricks Hawaii. They grow astaxanthin in Hawaii. And Bioastin is the name of the brand. And this is amazing for recovery, for people that are athletes, for joints. It's good for systemic inflammation, like if you have high C-reactive protein levels, CRP, which you should know about. If you're getting blood work, you should know what your CRP is. That's a marker of systemic inflammation. That's a pretty important number to know. So astaxanthin can help lower your CRP levels. Basically, it's incredible for the eyes. Basically, it's going to help your essential fatty acids work better. So if you take astaxanthin algae with like your omega-3 oils, it will prevent the oils from oxidizing as quickly in your body. So a lot of times now companies will mix astaxanthin with their omega-3 essential fatty oils. Okay, so next. So the future of nutrition is found in the ocean. Jacques Cousteau. Who's a fan of Jacques Cousteau? Who's old enough to know Jacques Cousteau?
I love Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so whales and dolphins have the closest nervous systems and brains to our own, even closer to that of monkeys and apes. All right, go to the next. So basically there is something called spindle neurons, and that's something that we have in common with whales. And which is a clue as to why our brains and their brains thrive from the healthy fats that are found inside in the ocean. So I bring up this bowhead whale because this bowhead whale has balines that allow you to consume marine phytoplankton, and it can live up to 200 years, whereas other whales don't have the same baleen, so they can't filter in the marine phytoplankton. They're consuming more krill and other things that are bigger. So this particular whale is basically getting the most nutritious food out of the ocean and living a long time. And so the blue whale also is pretty long-lived, has a lot of krill in his diet, a lot of the astaxanthin in his diet. All right, next. So dolphin nutrition. All right, so this last part, I just want to get into healthy fats overall and mitochondria. And so these algae, of course, have the healthy fats in them, the omega-3s, the phospholipids, the omega-6s. And basically, the metaphor of the Tin Man needs oil to kickstart his heart. And the heart is loaded with mitochondria. And the mitochondria thrive off of the healthy fats. So a little overview of the cell membrane. So you have all this stuff going on. And so these fats are going to make your membrane more permeable. Right? So you're going to get other nutrients flowing better into your cells. So people that have impaired mitochondria, most likely their cells are not permeable. They're probably missing some key micronutrients. Next. Okay, so algae can help support intermittent fasting, which allows your body to detox and produce intracellular antioxidants. So your body kickstarts these intracellular antioxidants, glutathione, catalase, superoxide, dismutase, when you're kind of in intermittent fasting mode. And so basically these algae will allow you to be in that mode longer too. So you end up consuming less calories, but you're still not undernourished. Okay, so everybody here familiar with mitochondria? Everybody knows what that is? Yeah, that's like the power plant that allows you to convert your carbs, your proteins, and your fats into cellular energy, because the cells do not run on carbs, fats, and protein. They run on ATP. And certain nutrients are going to give you way more ATP than others. And the algae goes back to that as a great source of getting your mitochondria nourished through ATP production. There's a reason why cars run on oil and not on crackers. And by the way, Exxon, for a while, has been making oil for fuel for automobiles from algae. They've been running experiments for a long time with that. I'm not sure if they've implemented that at a kind of retail commercial level, but they've been, because there's a bunch of oil in a lot of these algae. So that's another thing to know about. So using fat as energy mimics calorie restriction. All right, so here's some books if you guys want to take this further. Primordial Food is a little booklet about the clam plate bluegreen algae. And this is from a scientist who's done a lot of work on this. The most extraordinary discovery is the ability of AFA to stimulate stem cell release and migration, making AFA the first natural compound known to stimulate the natural innate phenomena of healing, regeneration, and repair in the human body. This Superfoods book by David Wolfe. Who knows David Wolfe here? Yeah, so he goes into basically 4 of the algae in his book. They're short chapters, a few pages, but he gets pretty deep into them, and some other superfoods. If you guys want to learn about cacao, goji berries, maca, aloe, hemp seeds, he goes over all that in there. So everyone should have that book. It's a good one. And then next. And then that's the one I was talking about, stem cell nutrition. And then this is pretty much a quintessential book for people to get that are in our field. Fast That Heal, Fast That Kill. Because people can really jack themselves up from the bad fats, and they can really heal themselves from the good fats. And being able to discern and knowing like which fats to heat and which ones not to heat, because the good fats, like the omega-3 and omega-6s that are good for you, can become rancid, damaged, and very bad for you if they're heated. Right? So those will become toxic. So that's why, like in potato chips, when you see like polyunsaturated fats in potato chips, those fats have been heated at a high temperature and they're now rancid. So you always want to buy potato chips that don't have poly fats or only have like 1 gram per serving. you want your chips to have the monofats, which can withstand high heat, which is like avocado, olive, or coconut oil, and stuff like that. So anyway, fast that heal, fast that kill. You definitely want to get that, and I think so. That's about it. That's Klamath Lake in Oregon, and that's Mount McLaughlin. So the Cascade Mountains are on one side over here. You got Mount Shasta over here. You got Crater Lake over here. It's a pristine ecosystem. It's the biggest lake in Oregon. And they got some, yeah, they have harvesters there and stuff like that. But very, very little boats are in there because the algae is so thick. People don't like putting their boats in there, so you don't have like the pollution from jet skis and boats so much there. Anybody been in the in that Klamath Lake basin? Anybody been there? Yeah, you've been there? Yeah, pretty nice, huh? Yeah. So that's about that.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you the red marine algae I take and get your opinion on it. There's some additions in it that maybe you know about that I haven't researched in depth. It's a gigartina and dumonataceae, and then it's got spirulina, 750 milligrams, and it's got 750 milligrams of red marine algae proprietary blend. And it's called Pure Planet. Are you familiar?
Yeah, so that one has a lot of the long chain sugars in it, the polysaccharides. So that one's really good for your immune system.
That's why I
for the white blood cells. Yeah.
That's why I was taking it.
Yeah. So the natural killer cells, you guys know about NK, the natural killer cells.
Yes.
Those are your main immune cells that go after cancer cells. So a lot of these algae are really nourishing to your NK cells. They help you to produce new ones and preventing immunosenescence.
Yeah.
Who here does not want immunosenescence?
No.
You don't want that, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I also had the chance to try Celtic's Bluegreen Algae many years ago. Are they still around now?
No, they're called New Earth now.
Oh, they're different companies.
Yeah, they got bought by New Earth, but their products are still around. And they've actually souped up some other algae products that are more targeted for stem cells. Because the ones that these companies are making to be more oriented towards stem cells, they accentuate the phycocyanin, so that they basically enhance the amount of that pigment in the product. There's also an interesting molecule in the blue-green algae called phenylethylamine, short for PEA. It's called the love molecule. It gives you that kind of giddy, loving feeling. It's also high in cacao, but it's not as bioavailable in cacao as it is in the blue-green algae. So it definitely is good for mood and just focus. It helps keep your dopamine levels up, and your norepinephrine levels stay up too when you have that molecule in your system. Your body makes it as well, but for whatever reason that algae has a lot of it, and that's a pretty fun thing to have in your system. So.
Yeah, I was curious, so are you like solely supportive of algae that's naturally occurring in nature, or any algae that's basically like farmed? I guess
Yeah, the farm ones are fine. Yeah, like the ones in Hawaii, like the farms in Hawaii are are good for this. These things are very, very sensitive to pollution, so they're single cell organisms, so they uptake pollution really easily as well. So yeah, I would want to know like where the farm is at and stuff like that. But yeah, most of them have to be farmed, whereas in the marine phytoplankton is grown like in laboratories. So it's an enclosed thing, and so yeah.
So everything is like pretty good, all the good. So where's the bad? Is there a bad in there, or the bad guy in there?
Right? Maybe the only bad thing is maybe the better stuff is a little expensive. Could be a little expensive.
Oh, yeah.
The higher end stuff could be a little expensive. That's the only thing bad I can think of. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I think mine can be low drag and low tech and everything.